It is 2 a.m. The world outside is completely silent, but inside your head, it is deafening. Out of nowhere, your mind decides to hit replay on a painfully awkward memory. Maybe it was a clumsy joke you made 3 years ago, a sudden trip in a crowded room, or a text message sent to the absolute wrong person. You feel that familiar rush of heat to your face. Your heart rate spikes. Lying there in the dark, you are absolutely convinced that everyone who witnessed it still remembers. You are certain they are still holding on to that foolish image of you. But here is a cold, yet profoundly cleansing truth. They do not remember. They never even really cared. That grand theater in your mind, the one where everyone is watching your every move, the seats are completely empty. We walk out the front door every morning as if we are stepping onto a brightly lit stage. We wear an invisible suit of armor, carefully curating every word we speak, every facial expression we make, and even the way we walk down the street. We do this because we carry a deep-seated belief that a hidden audience is constantly watching, scrutinizing, and judging our performance. It is easy to dismiss this heavy feeling. We often label it as mere shyness, a lack of self-confidence, or perhaps a mild form of social anxiety. But it goes much deeper than that. This is not a personal flaw or a psychological disorder that you need to cure. It is a fundamental, systemic blind spot built right into the human cognitive system. The core of the problem is a massive miscalculation. We drastically overestimate our own significance in the minds of everyone around us. Because we experience the world exclusively from behind our own eyes, we naturally assume we are the center of the universe. We cast ourselves as the undisputed main character in the grand epic of everyday life. But the humbling reality is quite different. In the sweeping cinematic stories playing out in the minds of the people passing you on the street, you are not the protagonist. Most of the time, you are just an extra blurring into the background. To understand why our brains deceive us this way, we have to travel far back in time. Imagine yourself thousands of years ago, living as a hunter-gatherer. You belong to a small, close-knit tribe of perhaps 50 people. In that harsh and unforgiving world, your reputation was not just a matter of ego. It was everything. If you made a foolish mistake, if the group deemed you incompetent or unworthy, you risked being ostracized. And back then, being cast out of the safety of the tribe was not merely a social embarrassment, it was a literal death sentence. Caring deeply, even obsessively, about what others thought of you was a vital survival mechanism. Your life depended on the continuous approval of the group. Fast forward to today. The world around us has drastically changed, but our biology has not kept pace. We are navigating modern cities and complex societies, yet we are still running on that ancient operating system. Our brains are constantly scanning the environment with a highly sensitive radar, searching for the slightest hint of judgment or disapproval. We are biologically wired to treat a minor social slip-up at a coffee shop as if it were a life-or-death crisis. And then, modern technology entered the picture. Social media took this primal, ancient fear and poured gasoline on it. We now carry a literal stage in our pockets. We have created virtual arenas filled with invisible audiences, constantly measuring our worth through likes, comments, and silent views. Technology has manipulated a natural instinct meant to keep us safe in a small tribe, mutating it into an exhausting, endless cycle of overthinking. So, how do we break free from this exhausting illusion? The first step is naming the phenomenon. In psychology, it is famously known as the spotlight effect. Years ago, researchers conducted a revealing experiment. They asked individuals to walk into a crowded room wearing a highly embarrassing, brightly colored T-shirt. Afterward, these individuals were asked to guess how many people in the room had noticed their humiliating outfit. The participants felt the blinding heat of the spotlight. They were convinced that almost everyone was staring, judging, and remembering. The reality? Barely anyone noticed. We consistently and dramatically overestimate how much attention other people pay to our appearance and our actions. We walk through life deeply convinced that a massive spotlight is tracking our every move. But that light is entirely fabricated within our own minds. To truly understand why people do not care about your social stumbles, we have to look at how the human mind allocates its resources. It is crucial to realize that this is not about people being inherently selfish or cold. It is a simple matter of cognitive energy conservation. Your working memory, the mental space used to process the immediate world around you, has a strict capacity limit. Every human brain is constantly working to conserve its energy. Processing a stranger's awkward moment or actively remembering a clumsy comment someone made at a meeting requires mental bandwidth. And frankly, no one has the spare battery life to dedicate to your minor flaws. Their brains are already operating at maximum capacity, busy managing their own internal chaos. They are quietly panicking about their impending deadlines, their financial struggles, their complicated relationships, or perhaps they are entirely consumed by their own embarrassing memories from 3 years ago. This realization brings us to a profoundly beautiful concept called Sonder. Sonder is the sudden, striking awakening to the fact that every random passerby on the street is living a life as vivid, as complex, and as difficult as your own. That stranger looking at their phone has their own deep-seated fears, their own quiet heartbreaks, and their own burning ambitions. They are the absolute center of their own universe. They are the undisputed main character of their own epic story. And because they are so deeply immersed in their own intricate plotline, you simply do not take up any significant space in their working memory. You are just a fleeting extra walking through the background of their scene. Understanding this completely shatters our egocentric lens. But you might ask, what about those moments when someone actually does criticize or judge you? Even then, the truth is deeply liberating. When a person directs judgment your way, they are rarely evaluating the real you. Instead, they are using you as a mirror. They are projecting their own unhealed insecurities, their own rigid rules, and their own silent battles onto your behavior. Their criticism is almost always a quiet confession about their own internal state, rather than an objective assessment of your worth. The ultimate liberating truth is this: they are not obsessing over you, because they are entirely too busy obsessing over themselves. We possess a deep, inherent craving to be recognized. We desperately want to be seen, to be remembered, and to be valued. Driven by this powerful desire, we constantly mold ourselves to fit what we believe are societal expectations. We sculpt our personalities, hide our quirks, and carefully edit our daily lives to please an imaginary crowd. But here is the tragic paradox of this behavior. We are exhausting ourselves trying to satisfy ghosts. We drain our precious mental energy performing flawlessly for an audience that simply is not there. The moment you truly realize that you are virtually invisible in the minds of others, the initial feeling can be quite jarring. It might even sting. The raw thought that no one actually cares can feel profoundly lonely, leaving you with a sudden sense of emptiness. But when you sit with that realization, the loneliness gives way to a breathtakingly liberating philosophy. We can call it Social Optimistic Nihilism. It is the profound realization that if the social universe is vast, and your minor flaws or awkward moments hold absolutely zero weight in the minds of others, then you are entirely free. The feeling of insignificance transforms from a heavy burden into absolute, unfiltered freedom. When you finally accept that you are not being constantly monitored, all those rigid, unspoken social rules naturally dissolve. You no longer have to maintain the performance. You realize that the profound indifference of the world is not a cruel curse. It is the ultimate permission slip. The fact that no one is watching is your passport to finally step out of character, drop the heavy armor, and just be authentically yourself. So we have to ask ourselves, why do we continue to lock ourselves inside a prison where we already hold the key, terrified of guards that do not even exist? Now, we must draw a very clear line here. Saying that no one cares refers strictly to the anonymous social crowd. It absolutely does not mean you are unloved. Your close friends, your family, your intimate circle, they care deeply about your well-being. But they do not love you for your flawless public performance. They love you for your genuine humanity. Realizing that the vast anonymous world is completely indifferent to your minor mistakes allows you to stop wasting your precious emotional energy on strangers. Instead, you can channel all of that saved energy into being truly, deeply present for the people who love you unconditionally. Ultimately, it comes down to a choice between two entirely different ways to live. You can choose the life of the person trapped under the spotlight. That life is suffocating. It requires constant acting, silencing your own voice, and quietly burying your deepest dreams just to avoid the imaginary judgment of the crowd. Or, you can choose the life of the person who understands the profound beauty of anonymity. This path is peaceful and wonderfully bold. It allows you to be wildly authentic. You can dare to try, and you can dare to fail brilliantly, secure in the comforting knowledge that by tomorrow, the world will have already forgotten. Step out of that harsh, blinding spotlight. Walk away from the center of the stage. As you look out into the darkness, you finally see the truth. The grand theater is completely empty. The silence you feel right now is not loneliness. It is a profound, healing relief. The world does not revolve around you. It truly does not care about your minor missteps, your awkward moments, or your perceived flaws. And rather than being a reason for despair, this is the most magnificent, liberating gift the universe could ever offer you. You are free. So, as we bring this to a close, take a deep breath and ask yourself, if right now you knew with absolute certainty that no one out there was judging you, what is the very first thing you would do?